Hi, it's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is acrylic pouring video number 4 in my continuing series of experiments with all kinds of stuff. When I do this, I feel like a mad scientist because I'm mixing up all these different chemicals and mediums and things together. The other day, in my endless pursuit of YouTube channels, I saw one for jelly plate printing, and they were mixing up a glaze using Brushos. These are Brushos. They're little powdered or little containers of powdered pigment. They're very concentrated, and when they hit water, they do all kinds of neat things. So look them up on YouTube if you want to see some interesting things that can be done with them. But what this particular YouTube channel was doing was taking Brushos and mixing them in with matte medium. I've decided to use fluid matte medium. As opposed to the regular matte medium gel. My theory is that this, of course, is runnier, and I won't have to add maybe as much water to my paint mix, mixing up my paint. Gee, spit it out. Okay, there we go. I may have to add a little water. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen with these if I'm using them as a pouring medium. They weren't using them as a pouring medium. In that video, they were using them on a jelly plate and painting on it to do some mono printing. So let's see what happens. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I'm going to take some fluid matte medium, if I can get the lid off the jar. Just give me a second. Okay, I'm going to make a loud noise here. And that helped. Okay. Would help if I wiped the rim of my bottles off after I've used them. That would keep them from sticking. So I'm not really sure how much to pour in. Pouring in about equal amounts in each of these, and I might as well finish off this jar of it. I've got another one. Okay, that jar is empty. Let's get rid of it. Let's get out a new one. And this, by the way, is what it looks like. Fluid matte medium. And it does dry clear. So this is not like white paint or anything like that. It's just a medium. Okay. Probably got enough in each one of these. Maybe I'll wipe off the edge of this. Just grab a baby wipe here, because maybe that will avoid the problem that I tend to have trying to get these bottles open. Whoa, this is what happens. See, you get little pieces of it that you can peel off. Okay. Let's put the lid back on here. Now, as I said, Brushos are a pigment. They actually have several colors in them, so I've done little swatches on the top which do not seem to stick on very well. And there's just a little pinprick of a hole, and sometimes I have to make that hole a little bigger. And you don't need a lot of these, so I'm just going to give it 3 or 4 shakes, and let's see what happens when I mix it up. Now, because this is going to be a glaze, it's going to be very transparent when it dries. And you see how little I really needed in there to change the color? Now, they have to dissolve, and they dissolve very readily when they hit wet medium. Oops, okay, splashing it on me. Okay, let that one sit. Let's put these over to the side for now. This one is rose red. Hole needs a little bit. Needs to be a little bigger, the hole. Now think about Brushos too, is that the crystals or the pigment that's in these are made up of several different colors. So it's not necessarily a true when it says red rose, it may not be a true red rose. Now this is coming out a little bit on the pinky side, so I think I'll add a little bit more because I want this to be more red. Now you might say, well, why not just open up the container and do it from there? Well, there's a danger of that. This stuff is very easy to spill. It's not a particularly cheap product. I think I've got about 12 bottles of it, and I think at the time I've had it for quite a while. It will last a long, long time because you can see how little I'm using. I think it costs probably about 40 bucks for 12 bottles of it. And they're in open stock as well. You can buy them as single bottles, so you know there's a lot more colors than the ones that I got. But yeah, a little bit goes a long way. Now that's still on the pink side. I'm going to give it just a little bit more. I'm just getting the hole a little bigger. That's a little better. Okay. Now this is supposed to be a rose red, but what I'm really getting is a deep pink, maybe kind of a cherry red, or even a magenta to a certain extent. So again, my color combinations might be a little strange. Okay, now let's add some blue. Ooh, I got a little red in my blue. Kind of, oh well, I'm not going to worry about that. I wonder what will happen. Give that a stir. Might not be enough to change the color. It's not, so that's good. So this is turquoise. Again. Now you might think I'm putting quite a bit in here, but not a lot of it's coming out of that little hole. So, ooh, I think this is a pretty color. I think I'm going to make that add a little bit more. Oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Just put that over on the side. Kind of pouring it inside the cup around the edges to get all the crystals. Okay, now, I don't know how I did it, but this stuff's so fine that, you know, so I'm putting it in one cup, but I'm getting specks of it in some of the other colors. Like I got some red in here, so, but I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, now I'm wondering if I should add any water to this whatsoever. Yeah, it's pretty runny. I don't think I'm going to add any water, so I've just got the fluid matte medium in here and just the Brushos. Now here's the next decision. Do I pour these cups separately, or should I do a dirty pour? Okay, I'm thinking here. I think I'm going to do a dirty pour, so let me get a cup. And let's start with the blue. Actually, I'm just going to pour it all in. Okay, So I've got my cup, and I just want to do a little wipe up here before I bring over my canvas. Set that over to the side. Okay, here's my canvas. It's just a 6x6. Didn't want to waste a bigger canvas depending on how this is going to work. But I want to show you something that I just created today. My little pedestal. I made a couple of these. This one will fit 6x6 canvas. It's about 5.5 by 5.5. Little leg on the bottom, glued on with E6000. And my little canvas will sit right there on top. So I've got the edges and everything can drip down. Before, I was using just another couple of plastic cups turned upside down, but I was throwing those out a lot. That seemed like a waste. Plus, I was putting them up underneath this part in here, and that was causing a bulge in the canvas. So this is perfectly flat and makes a nice little platform. So I just noticed that my video paused there for a minute on its own. Don't know why it does that. Hope it doesn't do it again. So here we go. I've got my cup. I'm going to do a flip cup. So I'm going to pick this up. Whoops. Okay, my little platform's a little wobbly. This stuff's really slippery. Okay, this is runny. This is very runny. Okay. Yeah, that was very, very fluid. I am kind of getting what looks like some air bubbles or cells, so I'm going to grab my torch real quick. Not really getting any cells out of this, but I didn't really expect that I would get any cells from this. But I'm just watching it. It's still moving a little bit. And some of the color seems to be coming up in spots here. So while it's doing that, I'm just going to finish off the edges here. And I see that one of the problems with my little pedestal that I'm so proud of is that I didn't get this really centered on it, so part of the pedestal is getting some of the paint on it too. It'll be interesting to see how this looks when this is dry, because it is a glaze. So when you use a glaze, it's transparent. You should be able to see layers underneath it. Just getting all the corners. Okay, I want to get it positioned on, yeah, this might be trickier. Well, maybe my little tripod thing, or my little platform. Oops, I'm still pouring it. There's still so much on it. Well, let's let it do its thing. This is very, very runny. Almost so runny, it's almost like it's in spots. It's not sticking on the edges like it does with the acrylic paints. Of course, in a sense, I just tinted the medium. It's not like mixing it with paint. If I mixed it with paint, it would give it a little bit more body, but this is Brushos, so all it is acting is basically a tint. So it's not adding any kind of thickness to the paint itself. Okay, so I'm thinking here, is it still doing something? Let's hit it with the torch one more time and see if it'll do anything. I don't think it'll do anything, but let's try it and see. No, it's not doing anything more to it. Now, because it's a glaze, when it dries, it may dry shiny. I don't know. Right now I'm finding, though, the color's kind of dull. I'm wondering what'll happen, because this is wet, and Brushos work with wet. If I just, here we go, let's see. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of Brushos. And just see what happens. Are they going to react? They are reacting. Try some of the rose red. More of it's coming out. And for good measure, I'll put in a little bit more of the yellow. Okay, now, just to make these react a little bit more, I'm going to spritz it with a little water. Because that's what Brushos are supposed to do. You're supposed to use them with water or alcohol. Okay, now this is becoming a little bit more interesting. Now, it almost looked like down here that I was getting some little tiny microcells. I like this better now. I like this a lot better. Let's try the torch again. I'm a firebug. Okay, still dripping away in the pan here, and I think it probably will, but this is kind of neat. This is more interesting than what I had a few minutes ago. So now, I'm wondering, what if I add a little bit of glitter while this is wet to it as well? Now I see some of my Brushos up here have not quite dissolved. So I'm just giving them a little bit more water. Still a lot of movement. Heaven only knows how long this is going to take to dry. So, I was mentioning glitter. All right, let me grab some glitter. So this is called Twinkle Dust. This is one of my favorite glitters. It's really fine. It comes in this little shaker bottle. So I just have to take the lid off, and there's a little thing in here that protects it. Put this back on, and then we're going to do a little shake, shake, shake. Okay, enough glitter. Yeah, so I got glitter everywhere. Okay. I guess, I don't know, I'm not that happy with it. It's kind of dull looking. But once it dries, we'll see how it is once it dries. Maybe we want to get a couple of coats of varnish on it. That'll brighten it up a little bit. Worst case scenario, I can always use it as a mixed media background, put other things on top of it. But I want to try this glaze. I want to see how it works. And yeah, I did a dirty pour. Maybe I should have done it just as just poured it, you know, in spots across it, and I could probably manipulate it. That's the word I want. However, the consistency of it, the viscosity of it, that's the word. Viscosity of it is very, 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 very runny. And you saw that I didn't add any water to my mixtures in the cups at all. So now maybe that's why they use the matte medium that is a gel, because it's thicker, and then you could adjust the thickness by how much water you add to that. Whereas here, I use the fluid, and it's already very runny. But anyways, I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, and when it's done, I'll show it to you. Now, this is probably going to take a day or two to dry. Don't worry, I'll pause the video. You don't have to watch that. So here's the final product. It's all dry now. I just gave it a couple hours ago one coat of spray varnish, and I think I'm going to put a second coat on it. Totally different effect than what you get with usual acrylic pouring. The glazes sort of, I don't know, they're a little more subtle blend. And you can see the sparkle I've got on here because I threw in a little bit of glitter on the top of it. It's sort of reminiscent of a galaxy painting in a way. Definitely a different overall effect that you get by making up the glazes and pouring them. And because they're glazes, the colors underneath you can see because these are each, as it dries, a little bit more transparent. So not bad. It did take quite a while to dry, and it's still a little tacky because I put varnish on it and I haven't let it completely dry. So as far as a technique is concerned, you might want to give this a try. It's definitely different from the usual types of acrylic pouring. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and there'll be another one with another experiment coming up soon. Bye-bye.